Welcome everybody to another episode of the Terrain Studio. I'm your host, Shawn Morris. Today on the Terrain Studio, we're going to continue our look at the Flames of War Forces book. This book is put out by Flames of War, or Battlefront. If you've been following along with the updates at this point, yesterday we were having a look at the Soviet Tankovy force. Previous to that, we were just having a look at exactly what the forces book is made up of and how to read the order of battle, or how to read the army layouts. So we're going to have a continued look at that. Specifically yesterday, what we were having a look at is the company HQ, as well as the two combat companies. Companies for Soviets, platoons for any other force. Before we continue on looking at the weapons companies and the divisional support, I thought it'd be important maybe to discuss the two tanks and the options available to players as I was looking at yesterday. So if you remember back to yesterday, we were looking at the T-34 option and upgradability to the T-34-85. So before we go on, I thought it would be nice to actually have a look at those two tanks itself. And Flames of War has done an excellent job of giving you, in the Forces book, some really detailed layouts on the stats and the statistics, and the options available for each tank. So let's zoom in here and have a look at the T-34 specifically. Hopefully this will focus for you guys, and you guys, there we go, should be able to see that. So looking at the armament of the T-34 1942 variant, we notice that it has a 76mm gun, has a coax MG, it has a hull MG, and it has limited vision. We'll get into the stats of the main gun in a minute. Just noting that it has two machine guns. This is important for defensive fire capabilities, as well as attacking, going in against infantry specifically. When attacking, you'll get one MG at a full rate of fire. Rate of fire for MGs on tanks is 3, and your additional one will give you 1 additional shot, so it would be 4. Likewise, you'll get 4 shots in defensive fire. So it's quite capable of defending itself and able to shoot infantry in the open. The limited vision is a hindrance actually to your tank. What this causes is that if anything is fully behind the hull, so the hull line drawn across here, it is an additional +1 to shoot at those enemies. So it makes it a little bit harder due to the shape of the hull to hit enemies on the side. Now, if you noticed, or if you noted, one of the upgrades was for Coppola's. This actually takes away the limited vision, if I'm not mistaken, so you won't have limited vision on your tanks. The second stat here to note is the top armor. Top armor of this tank is 1. So this is important if your tank gets into assaults. The next stats here are front armor, noting that the front armor of this vehicle is 6. The side armor is 5. The movement type of this, it's a standard tank. If you're reading old books, they didn't have standard tank. They usually would label it as like a medium tank. But standard tank is again the standard movement, so it would be 12 inches on cross country. It is also a fast tank, which means when it doubles, it does increase its speed to a little more than double. And it also has wide tracks, very important to avoid this tank getting bogged down. So you do get an additional roll. And maybe I'll go into these phrases and meanings in another video, just not to get too bogged down with all the terminology here. This is more about how to read the stat line and what the two tanks specifically were. If you're in terms of picking your options. So talking about the main gun here, it does have a range of 32 inches or 80 centimeters. The ROF is rate of fire. It has a rate of fire of 2. It goes down to 1 when moving, of course. The anti-tank of this gun is 9, so it's about middle of the road. Good against medium tanks, more effective against light tanks, and you're going to have difficulty penetrating heavies, except if you get into the side armor shots. It does have a firepower rating of 3, which is pretty good. Most tanks will have a 3 or a 4. Anything better is typically reserved for like assault guns or heavy breakthrough guns, things like that. And there's no additional notes to the gun here. Okay, so that's the T-34 option. Again, that, if you look up at the top, that's the cheaper one. And noting yesterday we talked about upgrading it to the T-34-85. So just to end off the video, we'll have a look at the T-34-85. In my opinion, one of the most well-rounded tanks in the game. I find they're fairly effective and for what the points you pay, you do get a really good tank. So this is a T-34 85 1943 variant. It's equipped with an 85 millimeter gun, so this is a little bit upgunned. It has a coax MG and a hull MG, likewise to the T-34 1942 variant. So it's same sort of stats, 3 in 1, or however you 3 in 1, depending on which situation you're firing, if it's in front of your hull or if you need to turn your turret. It does have limited vision as well. Top armor is equally the same, it's 1. Side armor is 5. You'll notice here that the front armor, though, on these ones is a little higher, so it's a 7. So it's a little above standard, 6 being about the middle of the road. So it does have that advantage. It is a standard tank. It does lose the fast tank ability, and it loses wide tracks. So you have some sacrifices. When you up armor a vehicle, it tends to lose a few of the statistics or a few of the attributes. The 85 millimeter gun here has a 32-inch range. It does have a rate of fire of 2, but you'll notice a significant advantage here in the anti-tank ability. So it's a 12 for the T-34 85, being only a 9 for the T-34. And likewise, the firepower of this one is 3+. So we'll just zoom out and do a sort of side-by-side comparison of the two tanks. So there we are. So again, just to note, some advantages, disadvantages, or some options. T-34 being a little bit quicker, a little lighter in terms of armor, and a little bit lighter in terms of the anti-tank ability. But you're gaining, again, the wide track, so it gets you out of those sticky situations. It's a little faster when it wants to double around, and it is a little bit cheaper point-wise. T-34, again, a little bit up armor, so a little more survivable. Has a little bit of a heavier, or quite a significant improvement in the gun, so it's able to penetrate even some of those heavies. But you do sacrifice some speed, and you sacrifice the wide tracks. Again, it's also more points. In terms of buying the model, you're paying the same price for each model. So in terms of real dollars, they're the same price. So there's no disadvantage in terms of this is a slightly bigger model and it's got a little bit heavier sort of stand. You're not paying any more. They're going to be the same price when you're buying them. Just keep in mind what you're wanting to use. Now the beauty of this list and the points that we talked about is you have the ability to take some of these and some of these. So a beginning player, what I suggest is rather than going with all one variant, maybe give yourself a little bit of option and pick up a few of these and pick up a few of these, play some games and do some mixing match in terms of how many you upgrade and how many you keep as the standard T-34. Just see what works for you. So that's where I'm going to end off the video today. So hopefully that was kind of some information to you. Maybe you picked up some new things or some things you had some confusion about. So we'll continue to look at the Soviet force and walk through the weapons companies and the support companies. And then if you guys like these videos, maybe I'll look at some other forces, the British, the Germans, and etc. So wherever you guys are, have a good day or good night, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.